This is JP Salopek. You're listening to the Tro
Shout
Quis
out
show.
T-Gear.
Braden, stop sending me stupid fucking trades.
J. Roche.
All right, welcome to week 3 of the Gridiron Fantasy Football League. This is the Tro Quis show as always. I'm Joe Tro. You're listening to T Quis. How you doing, T Quis?
What's going on, guys?
And week 3 is approaching us. We just finished up week 2, and we got a very special guest on with us. Last week we had Garrett Tysinger, head ball coach of Tysinger's Boys. This week we got head ball coach of JP Plays Through Adversity, JP Salopek. What's going on, Jared?
Yo, what is good, boys? It's such an honor to be on the show.
So JP, what's your overall take of the first 2 weeks of the league?
What's my overall take?
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of surprises. I listened to your guys' first show. I thought you guys had a lot of good picks and a lot of good analysis on how the teams are going to play. But there's been some surprises with like Chris Flickinger and Chris Deal and all that. So just a lot of surprising stuff going on. My team's obviously not playing the standard, so is T Quiz's team. So just a lot of weird stuff going on. But I'm hoping to bounce back, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, JP, I'm just gonna say it. Everyone wants to know what in the fuck happened to your team this week.
Dude, I want to know too, because I went to practice on Monday and I beat the fuck out of my team. I was just so pissed.
We talking Ray Rice?
yeah, like Ray Rice.
Let me just interject. For those that don't know, JP's team put up 33.6 points. So we got the 0.6 there. Let's go through his starting lineup. Ben Roethlisberger left in the first quarter, season-ending injury, not very good. Star running back Christian McCaffrey. Thursday Night Football only put up 7 points. That's not very good. Marlon Mack 8.3. Not very good. Your 2 receivers were pretty strong. Mike Evans, only player to get to double digits. So I don't know how. You can't look at him that bad. Stephon Diggs barely, almost 10 points, 9.9. And then here's where your team just fell apart. Tight end, David Njoku out with a concussion during that game very early, 0 points. Flex, Alshon Jeffrey, 0 points, probably out for a while. And then you chose the worst defense possible, JP. What led you to roster the Bengals defense?
I thought San Francisco was a terrible team. I was brutally wrong in that aspect, as everybody saw. But it wouldn't have made a difference otherwise, because my entire team got hurt, and it was just bad all around. But I'm going to make some roster changes this week. Hopefully I get it turned around. It's really disappointing, because I thought I had a good team after week 1. And I definitely scored a record low points in the history of the league, which is just embarrassing. So I'm going to have to do something to change that up.
Yeah, at least a bright spot, your bench at least scored pretty well. So, you do have replacement level players. I don't think you made any waiver pickups this week, did you?
No, I made one waiver pickup. I just switched out Cincinnati's defense because I just didn't even want them on my team. I actually tried to get DJ Chark and Josh Allen, but I bid it too low on both those players. So I am trying to get a quarterback at this point. I'm not sure which one. I still got to look, but obviously I can't have Ben Roethlisberger on my team anymore.
So JP, looking forward to week 3 here. What changes are you making to your team?
All right, so I'm putting John Ross in over Alshon Jeffrey because I don't really know if he's going to play. John Ross, I think, is actually the number 1 receiver right now in terms of points. I picked him up on the waivers last week. He looks pretty good. I'm trying to think what other changes I made. I'm pretty sure I still have McCaffrey in along with Marlon Mack, and I took Mike Evans out, and I'm putting Chris Godwin in because Chris has been playing well and he's been getting more of the targets. So I don't know what's going on with Jameis and where his head's at, but Tampa Bay is.
I have a couple ideas, but
it's just weird. Chris Godwin is doing well, so I'm gonna see how he does taking Mike Evans out, and then I can't even remember who my third. My flex is, and then I put Mark Andrews in as well. Yeah, I put Mark Andrews in as my tight end instead of Njoku. The Browns are too unpredictable, and then obviously Njoku just has a concussion. So there's a lot of changes going on, but I actually still am very confident in my team. I'm hoping I can beat Garrett's team this week, go in 1-2 against Taylor next week, and if I can beat Taylor, hopefully be 500. So we'll see.
Are you looking to move Mike Evans at all?
Man, I don't think he has any trade value right now. I mean, I'd love to give him off my team, um, but I don't even know who I would get for him because Jameis is just so unpredictable. Tampa Bay, I really don't know what's going on over there. I mean, if people are open to trading for him, send a trade my way. But
What about
I'm not
Kareem
going to
Hunt?
actively. Kareem Hunt, I do want to save, but if I go 0-3 or if I get to 1-3, I'll definitely consider trading him.
Okay.
Interesting. So
Go ahead,
Oh,
Tony.
go ahead, Joe. Oh, okay. So going forward, are you worried at all about Stephon Diggs? I know Minnesota is using a run-heavy offense, and they're giving Dalvin Cook about 20 to 25 carries a game. Stephon Diggs, obviously, getting about like 3 to 4 targets a game. Are you looking to move him at all? Like, what are you looking to do with Stephon Diggs?
I was really hoping to get DJ Chark, which I didn't do, so I have to think about it. But Stephon Diggs, I think he only had one catch that was a 40-yard catch for a touchdown, and he wore those SpongeBob shoes out, which is just embarrassing. Yeah, I was just like, oh my god, what an embarrassment. My team was just so bad. So I don't know what I'm going to do with them. My team is just not performing to standards, so that's why I went off on them on Monday. I'm hoping, I light a fire underneath them and they really start to change their act. So.
Do you think it's time to just use the Rams defense as a permanent defensive starter?
I listened to the show last week and you guys said not to use it, and I was like, what, it probably is going to be a shootout. So then I chose the Bengals. You got me.
Well, we can't predict that Drew Brees is going to break his thumb in the first quarter, JT.
Exactly. So I don't care what team they're playing. I'm just going to have the Rams in. So,
Okay.
yeah, I'm just going to keep the Rams permanent.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
What do you, okay, so your week 2 matchup is against, Taylor, right? Or no, sorry. Who's it against?
Week 4, and then Garrett's is week 3.
Garrett is this week. So you have back-to-back 0-2 teams that you're playing.
Yep.
So are you worried about losing to Garrett at all? Like, what do you think of the chances of that?
Honestly, I know my team was so bad last week, but I'd give it like a 10% chance that I'd lose to him.
Okay.
I actually still have confidence in my team. I think if you look at it, it's still a decent team once I get a quarterback. And I'm really hoping my team can get through these injuries and all that other stuff. But I actually think that I'm still a playoff team, even though I'm 0-2. So I'd take advantage of these 0-2 teams I'm playing for the next 2 weeks.
I just want to point out, too, Garrett's RB1 this week is slotted as Miles Sanders, and his RB2, obviously, David Montgomery, who is emerging and is one of my favorite players, but isn't going to get the workload. So definitely really weak on the running backs. And then the wide receivers, they're okay. Odell Beckham Jr., obviously a stud, and then Marquise Brown. I just don't know if he can keep up with that production. So it's gonna be a low-scoring week for this game, in my opinion.
I agree, and I watched the Browns game too on Monday night. The Browns offense, half the Jets team was hurt, and we couldn't even move the ball for half the game. So I really don't have any confidence in any of the Browns players because I don't think that they're very consistent. OBJ had that 80-yard touchdown or whatever. That was pretty much all of his value that week. I'm feeling very confident about this week. Hopefully McCaffrey gets his head out of his ass, which I'm pretty sure he will. But yeah, I'm feeling confident about this week. Hopefully I can get to 500 the week after.
JP, what is your plan for Frank Gore? This dude put up 18 fantasy points in week 2, a lot of carries. Any chance he creeps into your starting lineup?
Yeah, right now I'm going to rely on McCaffrey and Marlon Mack. If Frank Gore is so old, if he can produce these numbers consistently, then obviously I'm going to put him as a flex. But right now I'm going to keep him on my bench.
Do you think you should trade him while his value is the highest?
I hate trading too because I always feel like I'm getting swindled. Especially with Braden. I can't even remember. Braden sent me a trade that was just so ridiculous today.
Yeah,
I couldn't even believe my eyes.
What was it? If you don't care to share.
Yeah, please explain.
I'm pretty sure it was Marlon Mack and Christian McCaffrey. Or no, it's Marlon Mack and Mike Evans for like 3 of his bench players and Josh Allen. And
yeah, like, Josh Allen. He's trying to flip Josh Allen. I don't know if it's going to work.
And I tried to get Josh Allen. I was like, dude, I will just take Jameis over trading Mike Evans and Marlon Mack. So I was like, that's ridiculous. But yeah, I'm optimistic. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
he sent me a trade. He just sent me was Aaron Jones, who's like my RB1, and he offered me Josh Allen and a bench. I don't even remember who the bench player was. Some retard, but
Yeah,
like, yeah, I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. I don't know what planet he's living on, but
And then he said, you need a quarterback, and I said I'm not going to roster three quarterbacks because I picked up Jimmy Garoppolo. So I just
yeah,
don't
I
know.
saw the I saw the group chat get heated a
Yeah,
couple weeks.
I think
So it was good to see
his
that
head
for-
might be the same place that Jameis's head is. I think I don't know. We'll figure that out. T. Chris, you got any more questions?
Nah, man, I'm good.
All right, Jared, we'll let you go. I know you're on a tight schedule, so we appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, I gotta go get back to work, guys. I really appreciate it. I love these shows. Keep making them. So,
All right, man. Good luck.
all right, see ya.
All right, thank you, JP. We appreciate you joining us on the show. You're always welcome whenever you want. Let's go ahead right into our week 2 recap and see how our predictions went. Sound good with you, Taylor?
Sounds perfect.
All right, we'll start with Deal or No Deal versus Matt Boss. So, Deal or No Deal ended up winning this game 128 to 115, 13-point margin. I predicted 140 to 130, Chris. So pretty close, I guess. You predicted Matt, unfortunately. You had the score a little closer, but what did you like about this game?
Uh, Definitely a lot of value here coming from Pat Mahomes again. 31.6 points. I believe that was first among quarterbacks, and he's just showing why he was picked in the second round. And it definitely powered Chris Steele, even though Carson Wentz had a late resurgence in Monday Night Football.
Yeah, Carson Wentz seems to be like a good quarterback. Matt, is Matt gonna trade one of these quarterbacks? He has Lamar Jackson on his bench. Is there any chance he sticks with both of those quarterbacks the whole season? He has a lot of value in one of those.
Yeah, I mean, I told Matt last week to start Carson Wentz just due to his track record. Um, but Lamar Jackson definitely emerging and is playing with a chip on his shoulder, honestly. So, I just going forward, I would definitely start Lamar Jackson just because of that high ceiling, and then I would probably look to move Carson Wentz and power up your flex with a guy or I would say uh, probably like a guy like David Montgomery from Garrett's team or something like that, because Philip
Hmm.
Lindsay is just not getting the volume anymore.
Yeah, Philip Lindsay seems to be a kind of a bust for this year. He went pretty high in the drafts. Everybody thought he was going to be that starting workhorse back, and it doesn't really seem the case, especially in that Vic Fangio-led offense, if you could even call it that. But yeah, obviously Chris Steele is just riding the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, Sammy Watkins, Vance McDonald, his tight end, put up 22. Michael Thomas a little down week, only had 19. But his top three is really strong.
Yeah, you gotta be nervous here about Sammy Watkins. He had that good Week 1 performance, but again, like I said, Sammy Watkins years to wow me, and I'm not wowed. And the Oakland Raiders defense is pitiful, and he only put up 10.9 as the wide receiver one there. So look for guys like McCole Hardman to step up going forward, Robinson to step up going forward, and definitely look for LaShawn McCoy to play better with Damian Williams maybe out this weekend.
All right, good info. Next matchup, we predicted Trophies or Nothing versus Ty Singer's Boys. Ryan's now 2-0. Garrett is now 0-2 in last place. Ryan ended up winning this 110 to 96. We both had Musk winning. We had this way higher. I predicted Garrett's score exactly. I said 95. He got 95.9. Unfortunately, I said Musk was going to score 140, and you said Musk was going to score 142. So we were a little too high on Musk, but we both got that in the win column. Garrett, better than week 1, obviously. Still has not reached triple digits. Are you worried yet, Taylor?
Yeah, we've said this since Week 1. Garrett's team is just probably the worst in the league. Not probably, it is the worst team in the
Yeah.
league. There's no depth. You have to look to move Odell Beckham here for at least 2 to 3 value pieces. Brandon Cooks has definitely provided some value this week, but again, he only had 3 or 4 catches, so he's just not getting targeted enough in that Rams offense, and he's not going to score these 50-yard touchdowns or every week, and it's just tough, especially when your tight end puts up 0 points
Yeah.
to do anything.
Yeah, that is. Yeah, his tight end put up 0, and JP's tight end put up 0. Now they play each other, so we'll see what happens there. Obviously, I'm glad I got rid of Mixon. It looks like he's going to be a little sophomore slump. I think I won that trade. I got Aaron Jones, who seems to be good. And then how do you feel about your trade? I think we're 1 week into it, but how do you feel that trade went out? If you can just remind us what that was.
Yeah. So basically, I ended up getting James Conner from Garrett,
Yeah, that's right.
and I ended up giving away a guy that I really liked, and David Montgomery. David Montgomery actually looked very good. He started getting the workload there and got his first career NFL touchdown, which was cool to see. But James Conner going forward, a little bit scary with that knee injury, so I'm gonna have to monitor that from here forward. But as of right now, there's no structural damage. He's looking forward to playing this weekend.
Yeah, and then we'll move on to Ryan Muskin. I mean, his two Dalvin Cook. I mean, this dude looks like the number one back this year. We'll just see if he can stay healthy, obviously. And then Julio Jones on his team putting up 27, and then Derrick Henry rounding out his top three with 17. I mean, this dude. I mean, Ryan's team has a lot. It's kind of weird that he only scored 110. You feel like he should have scored more with his roster. But he's 2-0. I mean, do you see him continuing this success?
You got to be a little nervous here with Deshaun Jackson injured and slotted as his wide receiver too. I'm going down this list. Emmanuel Sanders is a guy that's definitely shown that he should probably be the wide receiver one on this team over Julio Jones, just because I just don't think the Falcons' offense has been producing that well. People are going to look at me and listen to this podcast and think I'm crazy for saying that. But I mean, if you look at this Falcons offense, Matt Ryan looks atrocious, and I was high on Matt Ryan. I thought he was going to be really good this year. I mean, he's still putting up good fantasy numbers just because of all the volume he's throwing. But Emmanuel Sanders, I mean, Joe Flacco and him are clicking. I mean, if you take a look at the past 2 weeks, I mean, he's combined for 48 fantasy points. Like, that's just insane, and Julio's just not going to match that.
Yeah, yeah, very true. We'll go on to the next game. Next game is Chris Flickinger versus Braden. We both had Chris winning this game. I had it about 135 to 130. You had it 118 to 112. So you got the score a little bit closer. Braden ended up winning this actually. Kind of a blowout, 127 to 95. After Chris put up the number one scoring performance in week one, he couldn't reach 100 in week two, which is kind of crazy to think about. I mean, Le'Veon Bell obviously kind of boosted his team at the last second, but it was too little, too late. And then his two wide receivers kind of helped him out a lot. Only one player to reach 20 points, though. I don't think that's going to sustain you the whole year. Do you think Chris is still should be feared in the league, or do you think his team has kind of showed his true colors this week?
You have to be worried about the Le'Veon Bell situation. The nice thing about it is that he's getting so many touches that it really negates the fact that Jets offensive line's terrible and they just don't know what's going on with that quarterback situation with, of course, Sam Darnold having mono. So going forward, I don't see this being a sustainable team. And if he does somehow make the playoffs with this roster now, I've said it since week one, like it's going to be hard to win when you have so many inconsistent guys on your team, especially so many guys that are also injury prone, like Watson, like Keenan Allen, like T.Y. Hilton. And it's just James White just needs the volume in the passing game to be any sort of relevancy, and he didn't really get it this week, even though the Patriots scored 43 points.
Yeah, I agree. And then going to Braden's team, obviously, I mean, led by Dak Prescott. This dude has just been playing really well this year. And then Bengals and Browns player after that, Tyler Boyd and Nick Chubb. Let's see here. See if I can pull up his team real quick.
Dak getting paid.
Yeah, Dak is showing out this year. I mean, his Devontae Freeman, though, I don't think is his RB1 anymore. He just looks like he's not completely there. And then, I mean, Braden's wide receivers are doing really well. Devontae Adams is still putting up his numbers. And then his tight end after a really good week one, TJ Hawkinson, not really doing much. The Lions was more of a Galladay, Kerryon Johnson type offense, and TJ Hawkinson was kind of left behind.
Yeah, I mean, if you were watching the game, the Chargers definitely put an emphasis on Hawkinson. I mean, I saw them actually put a couple corners on Hawkinson instead of the linebackers that usually covered him in week one. It was hard for him to get open. There were not many points scored in this game either. Stafford didn't really throw that much, so it was real tough for Hawkinson to get going. But I still like Hawkinson this year. I mean, top 10 tight end easy. But we have to go back to that Devontae Freeman. I mean, I've been stressing it since week one. Like, and even Braden's starting not to believe in him anymore with multiple reports of him trying to move Freeman. But I just he's not producing in this offense, and it's tough when your quarterback's just not helping you out at all, and that offensive line doesn't look very good. Freeman's not getting. I mean, he got 19 carries, but averaged 2.2 yards on the ground. Like, you got to think about like, moving him in the future, and hopefully someone sees that he's got upside or something. But he's just not going to be a sustainable RB1.
All right. And so moving on to JP versus Roderick. I mean, obviously, this everybody knows about this game. JP lowest points in our fantasy league, probably in ESPN fantasy history, with a full roster team. We obviously had him on the phone. He was very disappointed. He beat his team up. But let's not underscore Roderick's performance. 112 is nothing to laugh about. Pretty good score. Austin Eckler and Saquon Barkley continue to be the best running back duo in the league. But we already talked about JP's team. Let's talk about Roderick's team a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not fully on board with the Austin Eckler train. I know he's really outperforming his expectations, but I don't think this is just going to be sustainable. I mean, Austin Eckler just getting touchdown after touchdown, just getting massive yards on the passing game. Like, eventually defenses I feel are going to key in on him, and he's just not going to be a threat in the passing game anymore. Let's give it some time before we start saying Austin Eckler is going to be a top 5 fantasy running back like he's performing right now. And I am a little nervous about his running back depth as well, with Sony Michel and Justice Hill as his only guys that are back there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if his running back depth's going to matter too much. I mean, he might have to trade one of them to get a better wide receiver. His wide receiver core is probably one of the worst in the league. I mean, D.D. Westbrook is not really a fantasy, especially not a wide receiver too. He's maybe a flex, a stretch flex. And then, I mean, Amari Cooper's good. He's putting up numbers this year with Dak doing what he's doing. But overall, I mean, his team is really solid. Yeah, I could say his bench could use some work. I mean, Jimmy Graham is not really a backup tight end. Cortland Sutton, I think, has some fantasy value. He's shown to be a kind of one of Flacco's favorite targets in that Denver offense. But yeah, I mean, the bigger story of this game was JP's offense, or JP's just total team, and then we'll see how it can bounce back.
Yeah, absolutely. When I looked at this game on Sunday night and just saw that JP only had 33 points, I had to see if what his points would be if it was back in the old standard non-PPR, non-decimal, and I think we ended up calculating that it was like under 20 points. So
Jeez.
that definitely would be a Gridiron Football League like all-time low.
Yeah, our predictions from the week before, you actually had JP winning 142, 129, so that's obviously not very good. And then I had Roderick in a close one around 130, but I got the win there. Roderick obviously won that. And then we'll move on to your game. I predicted you would win 122 to 116. And man, Jake Mitchell's team just kind of went off. I mean, your team did not put up a bad performance. 129 that's second most points in the league. So you only lost to the highest score. I mean, that New England defense. Oh man, that sucks that you lost with that kind of point production from that defense. But I mean, what did you like about Jake Mitchell's team?
He's got plenty of guys that I used to call it a three-headed monster. He's got Gurley, Carson, and then he's also got Larry Fitz, who are guys that are going to see plenty of volume guys, and they're definitely guys that even their floors, like Gurley and Carson didn't really perform well this week. Carson, of course, fumbling. I believe he fumbled 3 times in 2 weeks. So that's definitely an issue going forward. But, I mean, these guys are just getting the volume, man. I mean, when you see Larry Fitz just, being in sync with Kyler Murray, it's just a hard thing to beat, especially when you're getting 15.4 from your flex.
Yeah, I mean, even his bench is not very good, except for Russell Wilson, but his skill players are not very good. But he doesn't really need him. I mean, putting up 142 points, I mean, every player did pretty well except maybe his defense, but, I mean, obviously that doesn't really matter. And then go over to your side of the ball. I mean, the Drew Brees thing just kills you. I mean, you probably would have won this game if it was a normal LA Rams New Orleans game and Brees didn't go down. I mean, just how disappointing is that?
Obviously, a freak injury with Drew Brees following through on a throw and Donald just sticking his mid out there and just tearing those ligaments in his thumb. It's going to be tough going forward just because Brees is going to be out for so long. Probably going to have to look for Gardner Minshew to step up, maybe even go to the waiver wires and see what I can find there. But I was planning on picking up Josh Allen and Garoppolo. You, of course, getting Garoppolo and Braden getting Allen. So we'll see what I'm going to do going forward. But, I mean, I'm not going to do anything with Breeze right now. He'll just probably ride the pine until he's back and healthy.
Do you think the reason that you didn't get a quarterback was because you were a little more hesitant this week, knowing what happened in week 1 on the waiver wire?
Yeah, spending over 75% of my bankroll is really tough. Although I didn't know how much money people were going to spend for players. And then what really shocked me is the fact that I spent $50 on Amendola, and he gets 13 targets week 1, and didn't get. I think he recorded 1 target, in week 2, and didn't even get a catch. So
and
I mean,
let's remember, you had a trade that was accepted where you sent Drew Brees and Danny Amendola for Patrick Mahomes. That was accepted. If that would have gone through, that would have been the biggest trade rape of all time. Like, it had to have been.
Yeah, obviously, if that would have happened, I'm not going to extend any further on this, or I might get in trouble with the league office. But there's certain reasons why my trade got vetoed, and it wasn't the players. That's all I have to say. So we're just going to leave it there.
All right, sounds good. Last matchup was my game against Cole. Obviously, very disappointing for me to put up pretty much the worst score. I mean, I'm not counting JP. I put up the lowest score. It was me and Cole were in a battle the whole time. That went down to Sunday Night Football, or no, sorry, that was during the 4:30 West Coast games. That was our last. We each had our last players in that game, and I couldn't get any touchdowns from the end. I had 2 Robert Woods touchdowns that were called back, which just killed me. I only lost by 4.6 points. If I had some production from Cam or some production from my tight end, I probably could have won that game. But props to Cole. I mean, Travis Kelce doing it for him, 23. I'm very happy in my Aaron Jones pickup. He looks really good. He's looking to get carries. So you scored this one. You predicted 138 to 129, Cole. So I mean, you predicted kind of a close game, just a little too high scoring, but you got the win. You got Cole right. What did you see out of this game?
Yeah, I've been stressing it for multiple weeks with this Damian Williams play. I know you didn't necessarily want him, but because you have him, I still have to talk about it. And it's just he's been a third string running back his whole career, and I know he got injured, but I mean this dude's he's nothing spectacular. I mean McCoy is probably going to end up taking that job, especially if Williams ends up missing time. And at least you got Aaron Jones out of the trade. I mean, Joe Mixon, who you had on your team, had 11 carries for 17 yards. So Aaron Jones definitely improved your team. And Hopkins, man, he got locked up by Ramsey. Like, that was after Ramsey was yelled at by the head coach, he really just stuck it to Hopkins. And then after the game requested a trade. So it's tough when your top guys like Woods and Hopkins just don't produce for you.
Yeah, and then obviously I traded Woods to you. I needed a tight end. I picked up Darren Waller. And then I also got, I don't remember the dude's name, that Jacksonville wide receiver, something Carson or something.
Oh, Chris Conley.
Chris Conley, yeah, that's it. Yeah, picked him up. Robert Woods, I hope he works out for you. When I drafted him, I knew that, like, he's not my kind of player. I mean, I just knew, like, he's probably not going to be on my roster the whole time. And Jared Cook was just a disappointment, man. I can never hit on tight ends in fantasy, like, ever. Like, I don't think I've ever had, like, a decent tight end on my fantasy team. But I made the changes I had to make. I got a quarterback. I got a tight end. And then I picked up the defense I wanted. So we'll see if I can bounce back in week 3.
Yeah, Jared Cook, I really thought he had a good chance of breaking out this year just because of that new connection with Breeze and how Cook played last year. But obviously Breeze being out, but even when he wasn't out, they weren't clicking really. So it's definitely a tough pickup, but at least you got Darren Waller, who's gotten at least six catches in both week 1 and 2.
Yeah, and there might be a trade coming through. I think I got some inside information. Me and Braden are still working out a trade that might send one of my bench running backs over to his team for for another player. So keep your eyes open. That might be going through pretty soon. Um, but yeah, if you got anything more to say, we will move on to the week 3 games.
Let's do it.
All right, and just to recap, I am 7-3 for predictions, and Taylor is 6-4. So we each predict 5 games a week. We do not predict our own, and there's 6 games in a week. So there it is. We're gonna see what our record is throughout the whole season. We're both over 500, so I think we're doing pretty good. So we'll move on to week 3, and we'll start with the Dick Tucks versus Half Chub. Both teams are 1-1. Both very solid teams, honestly. Cole beat me last week. And they're both. This is going to be a pretty close game, I think. Chris Flickinger obviously has got won $5 under his belt, but ESPN has Cole favored by about 8 points, 118 to 110. What do you like about this matchup, Taylor?
I'm leaning towards this being a lower scoring affair. Both teams' running backs aren't going to definitely like hit that ceiling. So I honestly think this is going to be more of a floor week because Bill Belichick against the Jets, he's definitely going to game plan for Le'Veon. Like, he's just so good at that. Honestly, I would look and hold me to this. I think Le'Veon scores under 12 points this week. But and then Kamara with Drew Brees being out, it's tough. He wasn't really producing with Bridgewater. Tariq Cohen, you never know what you'll get out of him. He's been inconsistent so far. I mean, he just gets like about 4 to 5 receptions a game. So it's tough to score a lot of points when your running backs are such question marks. But I'm leaning towards this being a lower scoring game. And I also wanted to point out the Ravens are very tough against tight ends. So Travis Kelce might have a tough time.
Yeah, I think Chris's wide receivers are going to win this matchup for him. I think he just has the stronger wide receivers. I think I agree with you with the running backs. I think they're all 4 going to kind of underperform. Both quarterbacks, though, a very good matchup. Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers. That's going to be fun to watch. But yeah, I think Chris just has the stronger wide receivers with Keenan Allen and T.Y. I know it's obviously not Andrew Luck, but T.Y. is still producing. And then Julian Edelman is just so hard to predict because now, I mean, you could argue he's the wide receiver 3 on that Patriots team. I mean, he might even be behind Philip Dorsett, but he is still going to be PPR machine with the little short slants and little short bubble routes. But, I mean, then Travis Kelce on Cole's team is just going to keep doing what he's doing. I think they play Baltimore. That's going to be a really fun game to watch. I think everybody has that game marked on their calendar. But, yeah, I'm going to predict, I think Chris is going to win this game. I think it's going to be like mid-110s. I'm going to go 119 to 114, Chris.
Yeah, so going on what I said earlier about this being a low-scoring game, I think Chris Flickinger is going to prevail here. I've got the score pretty low, like I said. I got Chris Flick 108, and I got Cole Gibson 96.
So have him scoring under 100 again.
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, you got to feed Antonio Brown. Josh Gordon's there. I mean, Edelman definitely is going to be your slot guy, and he always gels with Tom Brady. But like, there's just so many mouths to feed. You got Alvin Kamara that we don't know what's going to happen with Teddy Bridgewater starting. I don't even know if Teddy Bridgewater is going to even finish the game. They might bring in Hill. Tariq Cohen. That Bears offense has been atrocious. DJ Moore, Cam Newton still got that shoulder injury. DJ Moore's actually been playing good, even though I've made fun of him this whole entire season. DJ Moore has been producing, but not as your wide receiver 1. And then Christian Kirk, like, I just don't see any value here. The Bears defense honestly might be a top 2 scorer for Cole this week. I don't see his team being able to produce.
Some news on that Cam Newton situation. He actually re-aggravated his foot injury in that week 2 game against the Buccaneers, and he was in a walking boot on practice on Wednesday. So I know nobody really cares about that except Panthers owners and obviously myself because I own Cam. But there's just some news for you guys. So we both got our predictions in for that one. We'll move on to the game 2. Runs like a girly, Jake Mitchell versus Matt Boss Status. Matt Brem 1-1, Jake 2-0. Jake has looked pretty good this year. Obviously beating you with a very high scoring offense, winning the $5 if I remember correctly. So good for him. I mean, yeah, Jake Mitchell's team, I really doesn't have many holes on it. I mean, both his running. Obviously, you mentioned the Chris Carson fumble issue. We'll see what that turns into. But his wide receivers are pretty strong. Calvin Ridley has looked really good this year. Zach Ertz is kind of doing his thing. Larry Fitzgerald is doing his thing in Arizona. Obviously, still pretty old, but he's still putting up fantasy points. And then Matt's team. Matt's team is just a lot of good players on bad teams. And I just don't know how that's going to last. He has Lamar Jackson slotted in as a starter against Kansas City. Do you think that's the right move?
Yeah, like I said earlier in the show, Lamar Jackson just provides such a higher ceiling, and you can't really get that with Carson Wentz right now. The Detroit Lions defense is actually playing really well too, so I think it's the proper play. But I'm just gonna go straight to my prediction here. If you look at both these teams, you just look at Jake's, and you just got two workhorse running backs. You've got AB, who absolutely overachieved what I thought he was going to achieve with the Patriots, and Calvin Ridley. Even though the Falcons haven't been doing like well at all in offense, Calvin Ridley has been that guy that's been consistent and really driving Jake Mitchell's team. And then Zach Ertz, I still am not a buyer on Zach Ertz. I still think that he's still overvalued. He definitely put up a pretty solid amount of points for Jake, and
yeah, 27. Or that's yeah.
But I mean, you're gonna get that though. I mean, Zach Ertz, don't get me wrong, this dude is a superstar talent. But in terms of fantasy, I don't see him doing what people were drafting him at. Now, I'm not saying Jake drafted him in the top 3 rounds, but I believe Jake said he drafted him in the 5th round. But Zach Ertz is I just think he's more overvalued, and I don't think he's as good. But I think Jake Mitchell is going to keep his hot streak going. I think he's going to win 132, and I don't think Matt is going to score many points this week. Lamar Jackson probably going to be his number 1 scorer this week, but just looking at this roster, I'm just not sold on anybody here. Juju Smith-Schuster just not performing, and I've got Matt Brim scoring 107.
Okay, let me log that in. Yeah, I mean, if we look, Matt spent money on the waiver wire this week. He got DJ Chark and Demarcus Robinson. So we might see him maybe slot one of those guys into his flex. I can't see him playing Phillip Lindsay again, especially spending that waiver money on those 2 guys. I just don't think you can play Phillip Lindsay. And then if you look, Matt's team is all in away games except for David Johnson. Every single player on his team is in away games except for 1. And a lot of these teams are bad teams. He's got Detroit, Arizona, Pittsburgh, New York Giants, Denver. I mean, these teams are not doing anything this year. And you look at Jake Mitchell's team, these are pretty good teams. Rams, Seahawks, Patriots, Philadelphia, Minnesota. These are solid teams, and they're all home games except for his kicker and Calvin Ridley. So I just think he has the natural advantage there. ESPN has this game really close, less than a point spread, around 117 to 116. I agree with you. I think Jake Mitchell's going to win this one pretty easily. I think he's going to score a little less than what you have. I'm going to go 125 to 105. So pretty close with your prediction.
And I just want to say one more thing too. Atlanta will be playing at Indianapolis. That is a dome game, and like I stated in previous shows, Matt Ryan performs very well in dome stadiums. So look for Calvin Ridley to have a big game.
All right. We'll go to the 3rd game on the docket, which should be Cooper Scooper versus I Will Show You My TJ Hawkinson. Still an interesting team name for Braden. I think he's like trying to be funny, but like, I don't know. I mean, have you laughed at his name yet?
I can't say that I have,
Okay.
but I mean, at least it's better than his previous ones.
Yeah, true. I mean, well, maybe. We'll see if he changes it though. Yeah, obviously, we got a brother on brother matchup right here, which is kind of interesting. It's really fun. Roderick versus Braden, son of Rob's. I think Rob's going to be looking on this one very closely, so he knows who to give all his inheritance to. But Roderick is 1-1 and Braden is 2-0. I'd say Braden. Do you think Braden's a strong or weak 2-0?
It's tough for me to say because his team has strong players. Prescott obviously looking to get paid, but I mean, you just gotta look at this running backs, man. Like I said earlier in the show, Devontae Freeman just not sustainable. RB1. Chubb's eventually gonna split carries with Kareem Hunt, and then you go to his bench. I mean, Singletary was hoping to be a breakout guy, but he's injured. We don't know what's going on there. Tyreek Hill's out. We don't know how long he's gonna be out for. I just think it's gonna be. He's lucky that he's 2-0, but at the same time, he's also got players that are propelling him forward, like Tyler Boyd and like Dak Prescott.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's obvious Roderick has the running back advantage and Braden has the receiving advantage. But it's going to come down to like flex and tight ends and quarterbacks, I think. Matt Ryan, like you said, in a dome stadium. Dak is going against Miami. So that dude could put up a ton of points against that team. Like that, he might even break the 45-point barrier there. I don't know. And then you look at their defenses. I don't know if they're going to stay the same. But Saints are at Seattle, which, I mean, no matter what Seattle team comes, playing at Seattle is always tough. And then Bills kind of have an easy matchup against Cincy. But his defense is playing as wide receiver, so I don't know if he's going to keep that or not. But yeah, his bench, he obviously went with the Josh Allen pickup, spent kind of a lot of waiver money on it. And I know he's been trying to trade. He offered me a trade. I think he offered you a trade. I think he offered JP a trade for Josh Allen. So I don't know. I mean, he's kind of on his bench now, and I don't think he's ever going to use him. He doesn't really need him. So we'll see if he can flip him to like a team like Garrett or maybe you. We'll see. You can probably try and negotiate with him.
Yeah, I've also got a report, too, that he's also trying to send Josh Allen to Team Tysinger. So
there it is.
That's another team on that list.
Who's Garrett's quarterback again?
Baker Mayfield.
Oh, that's right. I think you stick with Baker for a little bit. I don't think you'd trade anybody for Josh Allen. I don't know. I mean, this dude is still like, he's only played 2 weeks of good football. Like last year he played and they were not very good. So I just don't know if you can just take 2 games in. But we'll see. I mean, Brady's going to try to flip him, see what we can get out of him. But yeah, do you think this is going to be high scoring or low scoring?
To me, I feel like this is going to be a lower scoring game. I've had a lot of low scoring games so far predicted, but I can't see either team really producing very many points this week. I mean, if you look at Roderick's team, Amari Cooper, I feel like that's a negative game script, and Amari Cooper's already not getting the targets that you drafted him for. So I just feel like Dallas is going to take an early lead, and they're just going to run the ball. And I don't see Amari Cooper getting any more incentive than if he was playing, like a team like the Saints or something where you gotta have to score to win. But Matt Ryan, like I said, Dome Stadium, he'll perform. Saquon always performs. Eckler, I'm still sketchy on. Kittle. Steelers have always been good against tight ends, so the matchups on both sides here, and the with Braden's running back situation, I don't see this being a high or mid scoring game. I'm predicting Roderick to come through here. I'm gonna go 109 to 100.
109 to 100, Roderick. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think it's weird. Braden has Dallas quarterback, and then Roderick obviously has Amari Cooper and the Dallas kicker. So I think he's going to be taking kind of some points away from Dak. So I also have Roderick winning. I have a little more high scoring. I have 128 to 120. I just think it's going to be a little better. I think there's a little favorable matchups more than you think. But
look for T.J. Hawkinson again to bounce back. Philly doesn't really have any linebackers or anything to cover Hawkinson here, and I don't think they're going to use their corners on Hawkinson rather than Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones.
All right, we'll go to game number 4. The battle of the 0-2s, arguably the 2 worst teams in the league. Garrett Tysinger versus JP. JP obviously explained to us his mindset with his team. He's only projected 102.8. Garrett's projected 106.3. This might be the only time Garrett is favored in a game this year. We will see. But, yeah, I mean, we look at Garrett's team. Obviously, he has Joe Mixon in there, who I said before, I'm glad I traded to him. I just think he's not very good anymore. I think that Cincinnati offense isn't very good. But he just has a lot of holes, man. I'm surprised he hasn't gone for a tight end at all. I mean, do you really think he's going to stick with O.J. Howard again?
I was reading a couple reports that O.J. Howard and Bruce Arians talked to each other, and they're going to try to get O.J. Howard more targets.
More than zero?
Yeah, more than zero. Actually, I think he had one. I can't remember.
Okay.
But either way, that's just not something you want. And there's just, if you look at the waiver wire, there's nobody there. So, I mean, you're going to have to stick with O.J. Howard. He obviously picked up Noah Fant, but he just isn't really doing much this year.
Tro Quis draft pick Noah Fant.
Yeah, I did draft Noah Fant. I went against the no rookie tight end thing, and it's going to be hard.
I think you dropped him before the first game anyways, so.
Yeah, and that offense isn't very good, so that's just it's tough. But again, we've talked about both these teams when JP was on earlier in the segment, so I'm just going to go ahead and give my prediction. Again, this is going to be a low scoring week, low scoring game.
Under 90.
I'm going to go under 100 with both teams here. I'm actually going to pick Team Tysinger.
Let's go.
To get his first W of the season, and JP will stay at 0-3. I just think JP has too many holes in his team. McCaffrey just has too much to cover for this team, and I just think that Garrett Tysinger will prevail. David Montgomery will emerge on Monday Night Football and power Garrett's team. I've got Garrett at 98 and JP at 86.
Okay. I mean, I think on paper, JP's team is better. I think anybody can see that. I think his team
100%.
Top to bottom is better. Obviously, not counting Ben Roethlisberger, but top to bottom, his team is better. He has the better running backs. He has the better wide receivers, and he has the better tight ends, and he has a better defense. But it's just his team is just not performing, and I don't know. He can't really do anything about that. I mean, he needs Christian McCaffrey to score more than single-digit points. If that happens, he's not going to win. He's just not. He needs McCaffrey to put up at least over 25 points, I think, and he's worth it. That's how much McCaffrey is valued on that offense. I disagree with you. I think Garrett's team is just it's bad. I mean, I think his team is just really bad. And I think he needs to trade Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin's value is sky high right now, and it's not going to be higher than it is right now. And you're not even starting him, and he's not starting Brandon Cooks either, which I don't understand. I think Garrett's in a big hole, and I think he's going to lose. I honestly think JP's team's going to bounce back. Obviously, we have to see what quarterback he picks. It's very hard to predict this and not knowing. But his quarterback options are pretty much Josh Allen, Matthew Stafford. He mentioned Jameis Winston, but I don't think he has the stones to pick up Jameis Winston. So I'm gonna go. JP's gonna win this. I think I'm gonna go 92 to 78. JP.
And I just want to say one thing for all listeners, and even my co-host here. I just want to say Garrett Tysinger, and everybody just write this down. Garrett Tysinger will be down more than 15 points until Monday Night Football when David Montgomery scores 2 touchdowns and brings him the W.
Wow.
Mark it.
That's going to be a bold prediction. We will see if that holds true. And we will roast you if it doesn't. But so there it is. We have those matchups. And now it's time for our matchups. Which one do you want to do first?
We can go ahead and do yours.
Okay. So I'm playing Chris Deal. Go ahead.
Okay. So, again, Chris Deal has been a powerhouse this year. Joe Tro, your team's just not performing to where it should be performing. And, I mean, honestly, like, your team's not even close to the worst in the league. It's just you've been getting a couple bad breaks with multiple players underperforming. Damian Williams, of course, getting injured and leaving that game early. You picked up Conley and Darren Waller from me, so that definitely helps your holes at tight end and a little bit more depth at wide receiver. I'm gonna ask you right now, what are your first thoughts on who Chris Deal is starting right now?
I mean, just looking at his team, I think I'm gonna lose this week. I don't think there's any ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's beating me at pretty much every position. You could argue wide receiver 1 he's even beating me. I don't know though. I mean, I don't know. I'd say I'm in a better position on defense, and probably. But I mean, man, I just don't think I have any chance of winning this game. His team is just so good, And that LaShawn McCoy thing, I mean, he's getting lucky with he's gonna ride the Kansas City Chiefs to a fantasy football championship. I'm telling you this right now. That's my prediction. He's gonna have Mahomes, McCoy, and Watkins the whole year, and that is gonna lead him to a championship in fantasy football. And I just don't know if anybody can stop him right now. I think he had a down week last week. He still won. And I can't believe ESPN is only projecting him 112. I think it should be way higher. I think it should be at least in the 120s. But yeah, his team, it kind of sucks that I have to play Matt Brem, Cole Gibson, and Chris Deal week 1 through 3. I haven't even looked who I play week 4, but I mean, that's just a super tough matchup to start the season. I mean, it's just interesting when the commissioner starts off 2-0, gives himself cupcakes, and then obviously his three arch rivals, JP, me, and you, get tough matchups, start off 0-2. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, you can just go ahead and predict, I guess.
All right. So I'm going to speak to the listeners here. Everybody that's at home in their car, turn on your AC because this is going to be another hot take.
There it is.
I'm telling you right now, Joe Tro.
No, bro, don't do it.
And I predicted this with Garrett Tysinger. I have said every week so far that Joe Tro will lose, but this is the week where Joe Tro gets on the board. I just think LaShawn McCoy banged up, tough Baltimore defense, Michael Thomas, no Drew Brees, Sammy Watkins, years to wow me and I'm not wowed, Vance McDonald has got fucking Mason Rudolph.
That's true.
Allen Robinson sucks. I'm just going to say it, he sucks. And he boned me week 1, but he sucks. Browns defense against the Rams. The Rams.
Yeah, that's tough.
They would put up 30 a week. Looking at all these matchups, Mahomes could score 50, and he could be guaranteed 50, and I would still pick Joe Tro to come through here.
Before you give a prediction,
Yeah.
I will say Damian Williams will probably not be starting. I am still working on a trade with Braden where I'm going to be getting a running back that will probably be filling in for him.
I don't give a fuck if you start one running back here, all right? You're still winning this game. Garoppolo, shit Steelers team. Aaron Jones going against that weak Denver front seven. DeAndre Hopkins, he's got to bounce back. He scored 8 points last week. It got locked up by Ramsey. His name is on the line. Chris Conley, consistent. Gardner Minshew loves him. Waller getting 7 catches a game. Shepard is a question mark for me, but no matter what, this team right here will knock off this highly touted Chris Deal team, and I've got Joe Tro scoring 125 points and Chris Deal scoring 120.
Wow, that is.
Hot
My
take.
AC
Turn
is on.
your AC,
My AC is
boys.
on full blast. Let me tell you.
Turn it on.
I mean, that was a very hot take.
Electricity bills right
I would
there,
love
boys.
to agree with you, but I just do not see that happening. But hey, I mean, I'm hopeful. And yeah, Sterling Shepard, I don't know if that's going to be my flex. I'm still deciding on my flex. And even Chris Conley, I'm still deciding on. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate that, Taylor, but your reputation's on the line,
Hey,
man.
I've been locked with your picks all year, dude.
Yeah.
I've been locked. I'm going to go 100% again after week 3.
All right, we shall see. And now, the final game. Man, another 0-2 versus 2-0. Dude, Braden just loves to just, like, make our schedule so hard. I don't know what's the deal with this. But, okay, we look at Taylor's team, and he has empty in every column of his starting lineup. So we have to scroll all the way down to his bench, and he has about 20 people on his bench. But we will go, and hey, ESPN is still giving you 5% chance to win, Taylor. Just remember that. They have Ryan Muskin at 95% to win. So I mean,
tough.
Hey, I don't know. His defense could get negatives. We shall see. But what do you see of Ryan's team?
You've got multiple consistent pieces. Dalvin Cook and that run-first offense, they've really committed to the run this year. And obviously we saw why Kirk Cousins just looked terrible when he threw the ball last week. And Dalvin Cook is just going to be – he has a chance to be a top 3 running back. Like, there's no doubt. And maybe even the first running back. But you got Dalvin Cook leading your RBs. You got Josh Jacobs, who's a little banged up. I see a questionable mark here. We're going to have to get word on what that is. But Josh Jacobs has been consistent. He broke off that 50-yard run. I believe it was on Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football, one of the two. He broke off that big run. Julio Jones, stud. Emmanuel Sanders, stud. And as we were doing this show, he actually slotted Emmanuel Sanders into his wide receiver 2 category. So there's that. But yeah, Emmanuel Sanders, stud. Austin Hooper, again, I'm going to say it, Matt Ryan playing in a dome. Austin Hooper probably will have a big game here. Derrick Henry against Jacksonville, tough defense. Derrick Henry's been producing. We've been high on Derrick Henry all year. And I like Ryan's team top to bottom. Definitely the best drafted team he's ever had.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, honestly. He's always been tough on the draft. But we do have news about Josh Jacobs. Coach Gruden said it's a groin issue. Doesn't seem to be serious, though, so we'll see. He should be starting against Minnesota. But, yeah, I mean, Ryan's team, 2-0, very solid. ESPN has him scoring 116. We'll go down to your team. I mean, Zeke, obviously. I don't even know why you put Zeke on your bench. You're not going to bench Zeke, Taylor. Like,
everybody's got to fight for a starting
like,
position.
Or Steven, bro. Like, no. Like, put Steven back up there. Like, I know he sucks, but, like, you're sticking with him. And then Drew Brees. Are you going to keep Brees on your roster, do you think?
Yeah, I'm definitely sticking with Brees. I really want him towards the back end of the season and then definitely going into the playoffs. I mean, He's just a guy that is always a threat for 30 points.
Okay. And then, obviously, James Conner with a little a knee injury, expects to play against the 49ers. Are you expecting a lower workload for him?
See, this is tough. I've been watching a couple other shows' podcasts, and they had mixed opinions on this. If you look at the game, the knee injury, it definitely looked bad. I don't know how he got away with nothing, no torn ACL, PCL, MCL, but that was just, it did not look good. If he is healthy and he's not feeling any pain, I expect him to be 100% getting a full workload. The question is, I don't know because Tomlin and Connor are always reluctant to let us know.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're not going to know until the last possible second. And then we'd look, obviously you have the Robert Woods pickup from me, so you have 2 LA Rams wide receivers. Are you still are you deciding between both, like either of those, or is there a chance you could start both?
I love the Rams offense. I think it right now it's not clicking, but they're still scoring about 30 points a game. So even when they're not clicking, they're still high octane, and I really want to maximize my value here. And if I end up going one way or another, Connor ends up getting healthy, and one of them's just riding my bench, I'll decide in the future when their value's the highest to maybe send them away for like a guy that could help my team. Maybe if Greg Olsen starts underperforming, go get like a Travis Kelce or a Zach Ertz or something. But as of right now, I'm looking forward to having Robert Woods on the ball club.
Last question. Are you worried about your investments into Alexander Mattison, Danny Amendola, and Ronald Jones? Are you worried that those 3 guys are not going to live up to your investment input?
So here's the thing. If I had to rank these guys, about the guys I would have to keep, I would definitely put Alexander Mattison at number 1, strictly on the fact that if Dalvin Cook, who's had a massive injury history in the past, if he ever goes down, Minnesota is so committed to the run, and their offensive line's so good, that Alexander Mattison would immediately jump in and be an RB1. Like, there's no doubt in my mind. He's averaging 5.7 yards a carry. He's had 13 carries for 74 yards. This guy is good. They drafted him high for a reason. I believe he was a second-round pick out of Florida State. Like, this guy's got all the talent in the world, and it's just one injury away from having a guy that I can rely on week in and week out.
And then Danny Amendola. What about him?
Danny Amendola, like I said earlier in the show, he shocked me. I spent a pretty penny for him. 13 targets in week 1. I don't know what happened. He's coming out of the slot. Stafford's known to like receivers out of the slot. I mean, Golden Tate obviously made a career out of it there. I don't know what happened. I'm going to monitor it going forward, but if it happens again, probably look to drop him. But as of right now, I'm sticking with him. Hopefully he does well, and we'll see from here.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and predict. I have Musk winning this. I'm sorry. I'm not as hopeful as you are about me. I really want to give you this prediction win, but I think Musk is going to pull this out. I think I have Musk 110 to 95. So
You've been predicting me pretty poorly this year, Joe. You're 0-2 so far.
have I really? I guess yeah.
Yeah.
I picked you to win both
both
times.
weeks. Yeah.
Well, I guess time to switch it up just like you have.
Yeah.
So
Just keep giving me losses, dude. Just give me a loss. Hopefully I can get a win here. Big week. Don't want to start off 0-3.
Hopefully we can both pick up a win, because if the Tro Quis show has a combined record of 0-6, I don't think that's going to be. I think our viewers are going to start dwindling down.
Yeah, that's real tough.
Wow. All right. Well, week 2 is in the books. We are on week 3. A lot of people. Obviously, the standings are still tight. No one's more than a game back. So it's going to be interesting. We shall see. We will join you back next week for week 4, and hopefully we'll have another guest on, maybe even the commissioner himself. So
See you guys.
See you guys. Thank you for listening.